Welcome to the virtual home of Calgary Unitarians. If you have a chalice or candle in your home, I would invite you to light it with me and to have it burning during our time together. Little things can help us feel connected, and this might just be one. Our community knows no bounds. We are not confined by the physical limits of walls, or for that matter, of what binds us, restricts us, or holds us back. We are freer than we know when we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed to be true community. We are here together in this space. I light our chalice and invite you to light yours, a beacon of our community holding us all together, here and now. Welcome, and first of all, a few, if you will, announcements. First about Zoom. From here to the closing words, we will have all of you muted. The reason for this is that you may not be aware of the background noises that the rest of us can hear, the dishwasher, the dogs barking, phones ringing, that your microphone can pick up. A little later in the service, when we share our joys and concerns, I will invite you to type yours into the comment box in the chat box that you will find at the center of your screen. At the end of our formal service, we will invite you into virtual coffee groups of 5, more or less. The invitation will magically, through the amazing AV crew, appear on your screen. This will give you a chance to see a few people, with hopefully some familiar faces and perhaps some new as well. Truly an opportunity to welcome and deepen relationships. We will, of course, unmute you when we go for coffee. As you've heard by now, we are in the process of moving many of our activities of the congregation online. For the time being, our building is closed, except for the few of us here on Sunday mornings. And even this may not continue into the future. It may mean all of us just meeting from our homes. No matter what, though, we will be together on Sunday mornings at this time. All meetings, programs, and services, those that do actually happen, will happen online or by phone, not in person. If you would like to arrange a virtual gathering, we have a room, so please contact Martha, our administrator, to book a time. We're still figuring out what all of this means. What are the possibilities and the limitations to address? This requires a willingness on everyone's part to be patient, compassionate, and when necessary, forgiving. I invite us all to offer kudos as well as constructive feedback, to be willing to take risks, but only safe ones, and to try a few new things. The staff are working from home, and know that we are all, me, Jane, Sheila, and Martha, only an email or phone call away. We know these are trying times. We encourage you to reach out and remain connected. You will be receiving a call from a fellow congregant in the next few days as we set up a good old-fashioned phone tree. If you're willing to make a few calls, or if you don't receive a call, please send an email to the caring team at caring@calgaryunitarians.ca. Check in on friends and family. Draw your loved ones close, virtually, even while we are physically apart. Starting this week and carrying on each week for the foreseeable future, Sheila and I will each be hosting 2 weekly drop-in sessions for anyone who wants to come and gather with us. Jane and I will offer a Tuesday evening gathering from 7 to 8 with a chalice lighting, reading, music, some shared silence, and some shared conversation. Our pub night The first Wednesday of the month will be virtual. All of these events and gatherings will be sent with the Zoom links in a special e-news tomorrow or Tuesday. And speaking of e-news, you will receive at least 2 per week, the regular Wednesday e-news, and on Friday, the Sunday invite, with all the details about the Sunday service. There may be other special communications as well, for our intention is to keep you as informed and connected as possible. Many people have contacted us to offer help to others in the congregation, and there are several people who have offered to buy groceries for those who may not be able to go out. This is being coordinated by your caring team, so contact them or call me if you would like to help out in some way or other. And if you find yourself thinking that, for whatever reason, you could use some help, please do not hesitate to contact me. Know that your staff are here for you. Please contact us. It is so very good to be with you this morning, to see your smiling faces. So welcome to Calgary Unitarians, where we come together to grow, to welcome, and to act. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for being here for each other. It's obviously very different to gather online than in person. And on the technological side, there are sure to be some hiccups. This isn't a perfect platform for us to worship in, and we all have so very much to learn. But it is important to remember why we are doing this. I watched a video yesterday of a woman who has been isolated in Italy for the last several days, weeks now. She talked about the challenges that have come with this change. And then she said something I think is very important. She said it's important to really focus on your reason for doing this, for being in isolation, for contending with the hassles and disappointments that come with all of the recent disruptions to our lives. I invite you to take that question to heart for yourself in the coming days. What is your reason for doing this? I think I can speak for the congregation and say that we are doing this, that we are meeting in this strange new way for what may feel, with our faces in a bunch of tiny boxes on a screen, like the strangest episode ever of Hollywood Squares. We come together in this way today as an act of love for ourselves and for our neighbors, for our friends and for strangers, for our own health and for the health of the medical system that cares for us all. We come together in this way today as an act of love, a sign of love for life itself. So amid the shortcomings of meeting this way, amid the disruption and upheaval that we are all living through, let us not forget about the love. Let us understand ourselves as taking part in a massive movement to serve life. This in no way means that it is easy. We face frustration and fear. We face uncertainty about our health, about our jobs, and yet we have come together in this way to affirm that we need not face these things alone. It is a truly blessed thing to be together this day. I really want to thank Jane for being here today, and for the AV team, and for Mitch, who has stepped in to sing duo with Jane. They will be offering music for the service and supporting us all in singing the congregational songs together, so I invite you to sing out loud in your own space as we recognize that we open the doors of our hearts to each other, as we sing together even though we are physically apart. And now I invite you to hear words from our Director of Religious Education, Sheila McMaster.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you. I'm Sheila McMaster, the Director of Religious Education here at the Calgary Unitarians. I kind of feel it's a bit like Romper Room. You know, I can be like, oh, I see Mariana Louise and Jane and Kijiji, and I'm happy to see everyone. You might be wondering, spring equinox this year was March 19th, which is earlier than it's been in over a century. And so this week, the children were sent a how-to guide and encouraged to make their own austere altars in the pagan tradition or spring decorating and send in a picture. And I have a picture I'll share with you next week of our austere altar that Morgan, my 8-year-old, and I made this week. Youth have had a Zoom weekly meeting Sundays at 2 p.m. So we had one last week with our wonderful youth volunteer, Rebecca Mobley-Kasner, and we explored spirituality and what does that mean for each person. And this week, we're experimenting with Netflix movie party, and we're going to be watching a short video about meditation and mindfulness in the Buddhist tradition with our youth advisor, Holly Noel. So I'm really looking forward to that, and we'll let you know how that turns out next week. For families to connect, we have 2 Zoom coffee times. So you just need to log in at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday and have coffee with me, and I will be there, and I will be checking in with families. And also, again, we have it Thursdays at 6 p.m., followed by a 7 p.m. bedtime stories. And that's open to the young and young at heart. So I look forward to seeing you there. And also, in our CYRE, which is Children, Youth, Religious Education newsletter that goes out every week, we have some great hand washing videos that are good for children and youth and adults. So our children one, we have one by Brain Pop with Moby the Robot, which is pretty cool. And for youth and adults, we have one by Alton Brown. There's one with an axe and no axe. So if you like zombie movies, pick the axe one. If you don't, pick the no axe one. But they're both pretty funny. And if you'd like to receive our weekly CYRE newsletter, just send me an email, which is just dre@calgaryunitarians.ca, and we'll hook you up. You know, going on Facebook a lot this week, there's a lot of news and a lot of funny memes, and one powerful post that was on Facebook was about the anthropologist Margaret Mead, and she was asked by a student what she considered to be the first sign of civilization in a culture. And the students expected to hear things like, oh, fish hooks or clay pots or grinding stones. But actually, Mead said that the first sign of civilization in an ancient culture is when a femur, a thigh bone, is broken and then healed. Because in the animal kingdom, if you break your leg, you die. You can't run from danger, you can't get to the river to get a drink, you can't hunt for food. You're basically meat for the prowling beasts. So if an animal can't survive a broken leg long enough for the bone to heal. And Margaret Mead continues by saying, a broken femur that has healed is evidence that someone has taken the time to stay with the one who fell, has bound up the wound, and carry that person through recovery. Helping someone else through difficulty is where civilization starts. And right now is a difficult time. You know, it's not the toilet paper apocalypse or the breakdown of civilization, although, you know, if you read enough Facebook memes, it feels like it is. Instead, we're actually renewing that basic definition of civilization. This is the start of community. You know, when someone has offered to pick up groceries, when people are helping out by physically isolating, that is the core of what we're doing right now, helping each other out through difficulty. And that is the very anthropological definition of civilized. So this is the start of us all being very civilized with each other. Back to you, Deborah.
This was to be our Stewardship Sunday, with each of you bringing forward your pledge forms, receiving some bling, and entering into a draw for a fabulous gift basket, and then joining us for a chilly lunch. Well, things have changed. I'm sure there is the smell of a pot of chili cooking in some of the homes, though, and the reality is we still need to do our canvas, modified for sure, with the majority of you pledging this year online. We don't really know what the financial implications and the situation will be for any of us going forward. And yet many of us are realizing at an even deeper level how important this community is to us. So for our modified celebration Sunday, I'm going to ask Mitch, one of the members of the stewardship team, to come forward and offer some words.
Good morning, everyone. And greetings from your stewardship team. Today, all day, is still Commitment Sunday. We look forward to your show of generosity in this, our journey of abundance. Now, more than ever, we need to support each other with all kinds of support, and that includes financial. If you haven't yet pledged, there are several ways to get your pledge in, despite the church building being closed. You can pledge online via our website, calgaryunitarians.ca. You can send an email with your pledge information to pledge@calgaryunitarians.ca, or you can send a picture of your completed pledge form and email it to that same pledge@calgaryunitarians.ca address. You can also mail in your pledge, as mail will still be picked up periodically from the church. Now, everyone who has a pledge in by midnight Saturday, March 28th, that's next Saturday night, will be entered in a draw for a beautiful gift package, a basket with many goodies in it. I was kind of slavering over it myself when I looked at it. And next Sunday, March 29th, we'll be making the draw during the Sunday service. So be sure to join us on the Zoom site, just as you are doing today. If you choose to mail in your pledge form, be sure to drop it in the mailbox right away, so it'll reach us by Friday. And now, as you probably are familiar, we often have meetings, we have reflections from members of the congregation talking about why the church is important to them. And I'll just have to see if I can get my notes up here. Here we go. So, how did I end up here? A little over 25 years ago, I noticed that my wife, Duff, and my daughter, Christy, were zooming off on Sunday mornings to go to a church I knew very little about. Christy was 4 at the time, and we wanted her to come to a place where she would get a good grounding on life and ethics and morals. We had found that returning to the Anglican church of our younger years was unsatisfying. So Duff had done some research in a library and decided to check out the Unitarians. She and Chris quickly found a home there, and I soon noticed that we had started pledging to support the church. I was traveling on business a lot at the time, so only Duff became a member. I was very peripheral to the church then. After a few years, Duff asked if I could help the director of religious education with her computer so she could email the children's parents. So I did that. And then the minister needed help. And then it became clear that we needed a file server, and then an accounting system, and then a member information system. I was about ready to end my career in computing technology as I was reaching retirement age, but I still wanted to be technically engaged and useful. So I was happy to increase my involvement with the church. I've really enjoyed helping the staff and members of the church use technology to make their work more efficient. I finally succumbed to the undertow and became a member in 2001. Since then, I've been impressed with the grounding that our daughter received here in all this time. She became very involved in social justice, and I really loved the way the congregation gave wholehearted support to her group's creating the Pride Rainbow banner in support of equal marriage. For me, the congregation is the place I go to on Sunday. I enjoy the services as a congregant, and when I sing with the choir, and when I get to speak at the podium. Services can be interesting and inspiring, and I like that they vary from week to week. I think my favorites are the Spirituality of series. I have a couple of suggestions I might put on the list. The church is the place I go to on Monday, and Tuesday, and Wednesday. You get the idea. No, I'm not here every day, though it can be pretty frequent. I'm in the building for committee meetings and for work with the audiovisual and technology teams. When things get busy, think of the last couple of weeks, I can be here quite often. Yes, we practice social distancing. These teams and committees are an important part of my community. We get to know each other pretty well, as people do when they're working together for a shared goal. The congregation is the place where I sing in choir rehearsals with Euphonia and with Focal Attitudes. I find choir singing feeds my soul. There's something special about joining your voice with others and making beautiful music together. The congregation is the place I go for introspection. Introspection is not a big part of my makeup, but I enjoyed the building your own theology sessions last summer. Maybe something starting there. And the congregation was the starting point for my service on the board of the National Canadian Unitarian Council, and currently with the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists. In large part, I support the denomination and our congregation because I believe many people need a liberal religion like ours. I'm certain that there are many Calgarians who would benefit from being a part of our congregation. And I participate and lend my financial support to the congregation to ensure it continues and becomes better known in the community. I hope you will join in this commitment by pledging generously in this year's campaign. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. And thank you for stepping in for Meredith as well, the chair of the committee who was not able to join us virtually. And now your participation, everyone, is welcome for this responsive reading with two other members of the stewardship team, Carol Waugh and Brannis Purcell. If you choose, and your first name starts with A through K, please join Carol in the solid text. And if your first name begins with L to Z, join Brandes with the italicized or indented text. For now, let's welcome Carol and Brandes.
Those who yearn for deepening more than escape, who are not afraid to grow in spirit.
Blessed are those who take seriously the bonds of community, who regularly join in celebration and learning, who come as much to minister as to be ministered unto.
Blessed are those who bring their children, who invite their friends to come along to join in fellowship, service, learning, and growth.
Blessed are those who support the congregation and its work by their regular, sustained, and generous giving, and who give of themselves no less than their money.
Blessed are those who know that the congregation is often imperfect, yet rather than harbor feelings of anger or disappointment, bring their concerns and needs to the attention of the congregational leaders.
Blessed are those who, when asked to serve, do it gladly, who realize that change is brought about through human meeting, who do the work of committees and stay until the end.
Blessed are those who speak their minds in meetings, who can take and give criticism, who keep alive their sense of humor.
Blessed are those who know that the work of the congregation is the transformation of society, who have a vision of beloved community transcending the present, and who do not shrink from controversy, sacrifice, or change. Blessed are
Blessed
they
are they
indeed.
indeed.
Blessed are we all. Watching this at a later time, blessed to be part of such a loving community. I invite us now into a time of reflection with words, silence, and a musical response. These words are from the Reverend Lynn Unger. I first shared them last week, and I have been reading them daily. It has become, if you will, a spiritual practice for me, and so I share them with you again. We will then have a moment's silence. Lynn Unger's Pandemic. What if you thought of it as the Jews consider the Sabbath, the most sacred of times? Cease from travel. Cease from buying and selling. Give up, just for now, on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. We could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely this has become clear. Do not reach out your hands, though. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Reach out all the tendrils of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. Thank you, Rich and Jane. At the foundation of our faith is the recognition that we are bound together in a great web of life, in what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called an inescapable network of mutuality, a single garment of destiny. Giving substance to that awareness, we turn to honor the joys, the sorrows that we share, knowing that in so many sacred ways, what touches one life affects us all. On our spinning ball of a world, there are countless causes for concern, situations that touch our heart and rightly call us to our compassion. This morning, we hold in our hearts all those who live in turmoil, all those whose lives are beset by fear of what the future may hold, those who are displaced, and those who are worried for their own well-being and for the well-being of those they love. As we move into this strange new world, we hold in our hearts all those whose work puts them in harm's way, especially those who labor at all levels of our healthcare system, the nurses, the doctors, the chaplains, the administrators, and the support care workers. May they have strength and courage in this time. Knowing that so many issues here and abroad weigh on our minds, let us now lift them up in silence or post them in the chat. We recognize also the janitors, the cleaners, the people who are disinfecting our world. I light our global candle for all that has been spoken, aloud here in this room and in your own homes. And we carry with us today many concerns closer to home. We hold in love and care this day all those contending with illness and those healing from pain, be it spiritual, physical, or emotional. We hold Randy Lynn and her family. She is in hospice now. We hold her and her family in our hearts and thoughts. We think of those struggling with the hard and heartbreaking stuff of life. Those virtually embraced we virtually embrace those who are living in physical isolation by mandate rather than by choice at this time. And I particularly think of Bob McPherson and Alan Jessup and others in forced isolation. Thinking of those we may carry in our hearts, let us now lift them up in silence, or you may post the names into the chat for me to read aloud. Hazel remembers her 88-year-old mother in New Orleans. All those who have missed longed-for family vacations and visits. We are each speaking aloud those to whom and of whom we are thinking and holding in our virtual embrace at this time. For the concerns shared aloud, either in your home or here, we light a candle of concern and care. Alongside our joy, our sorrow, there is also joy. Some cause for celebration and gratitude as well, and milestones of all kinds. I do believe that all of our travelers are now home, most in self-imposed isolation, and we are so grateful for their safe return. There have been birthdays this week as well, though the celebrations have been modified. My little grandson turned 4 on Friday. There are some joining us here today for the first time as well, and it is a joy to have you with us. If you have a joy that you would like shared aloud, I invite you to please write it now in the chat. Virtual connections with people I have not talked to in ages. Unexpected phone calls from someone I haven't heard from. The joy of us being able to share with each other today. This way of doing cares and concerns will become part of what we do in our virtual Sunday services. I light this candle for the joy of living, for the opportunity for connecting, for those with us this morning and those who will watch this service later, and for the fact that we are all still here and with each other, and love's presence in the world binding us together. In this beautiful and bittersweet life, our hearts are made to hold both the delight and despair, sometimes all at once. As a community, we share with each other's life's sorrows and its joys. Let us then live and breathe in the knowledge that we are not alone in our experience, that we are held by a greater love that surrounds us in this room, in the wider world, and in the unfolding mystery of life as well. There have been a lot of decisions to make in the last few weeks about just about everything. For me, your staff and the Board of Trustees, it has been about moving from our physical gathering to this new virtual reality. We have been discerning how to have some sense of normalcy as we create a brand new normal, as we build new ways of being together, of recognizing and living into physical distancing while not socially isolating or emotionally distancing from each other, rather the opposite. We are all reaching out much more intentionally to stay connected. Remember, especially those who are perhaps less well connected. We wondered about proceeding with this Celebration Sunday, celebrating our annual canvas, our financial expression of gratitude for this community. I suppose if we had not yet started, we might have done otherwise, and we were in the midst of it. So how do we modify? It has actually been a blessing in a way. I'm looking for those blessings everywhere. For the abundance of goodwill, of creativity and thoughtfulness that has come to the foreground. There are, of course, abundant concerns and anxieties, an abundance of caution and fear, and in the midst of this, there is such an abundance of care, imagination, creativity, and love being expressed in very real, if not always concrete ways. This time has lifted up the need to balance awareness with stillness. There is such an abundance about the global impact of this virus, of what we can do collectively to flatten the curve of its spread and ease the pressures on our healthcare system and on each other. How the whole world is coming together with common purpose. There is an abundance of information to scare the bejesus out of us, also to thoroughly inform us. And we need to be responsible about staying informed, for sure. But let us not move into anxiety and fear. For there is also an abundance of poetry and writing about hope and resilience and of acts of kindness and solidarity. Personally, I'm trying to stay away from the anxiety-provoking and balance the informative with the uplifting. This is actually a practice I plan to continue. I think our times of gathering are mostly about keeping our spirits uplifted and inspired, and more than anything, for us to feel connected. In the description for this morning's service that I crafted what seems a lifetime ago, I propose that abundance can be an orientation to life, an orientation that can be both demanding and helpful in these current times. And that was before we were in what are now our current times. An abundance orientation requires that we define abundance rather than as more stuff, as plenty, as wealth beyond stuff and acquisition, a wealth of spirit and expressing of love and care into the world. An abundance orientation is a new way of being, and we are building a new way. So I've altered just one word, the journey to abundance and the journey of abundance in these short reflections. The journey of rather than to abundance is living out our abundant spirits, our best selves, for we have so much to give, to offer the world and each other, and so much to receive from each other. I have seen expressions of this abundance orientation all around. In Italy, people are going out on porches or opening windows to sing so that those who are alone do not feel alone. It began in Portugal. At 8 o'clock every night, people going out and applauding the healthcare workers. This has caught on across the world. I invite us at 8 o'clock in the evening as a spiritual practice to offer our applause for all of those who are keeping things going. In the NBA, some of the basketball players are paying the wages of the laid off workers. With the financial support being offered now to those who are not eligible for EI, I wonder if perhaps this will bring about a universal living wage, just perhaps a silver lining in all of this. And here in our community, your board of trustees has made the decision to pay all of our staff, even those who cannot come in and work, as well as our cleaners, because we know that people are going to be impacted. This is such an act of integrity. I have seen and heard of situations where people are reaching out to each other in ways that are truly exceptional. Holly Noel shared with us that in her neighborhood, people on St. Patrick's Day put shamrock cutouts in their windows, and the children went around doing a shamrock count. How much more community building will happen as a consequence of the situation we are in now? And your staff. It's been amazing how we've all come together, deepened how we work together, and how we reach out to you. An interesting thing you'll see every week in the Wednesday e-news is what Martha came up with, meanwhile, a good news, or something comedic to make us laugh a little in this situation. Can this crisis be a reorientation toward the common good, to reevaluating what is truly important, each other, and the power and the importance of connection? A reorientation to an abundance of spirit and love that finds its expression through each of us? We are truly blessed. And I'd like to ask Mariana Louise to offer our closing words, which are themselves a blessing.
Our closing words. Oh, we give, wrong one. Blessed are the elderly and the immunosuppressed. Blessed are the fearful, the anxious, and irritable. Blessed are the ones who use humor to get by.
You say it so humorlessly. Mama boy.
Blessed are the ones who use a vacation anyway, who could use a vacation anyway, the ones who fear for their life. Blessed are the ones who are sick of it, all the flawed logic, the security theater. Blessed are the ones who cry out, this is why we need a safety net, a kinder society, a newer world. Blessed are the healthcare workers, all those working to ease the anxiety of the many. Blessed are the sad and the lonely. Blessed are the healthy and the sick, the well and the unwell. Blessed are all of us just trying to do our best. Blessed are those who stay kind and clear, who keep our eyes open to each other. Blessed is our neighbor. Blessed are we all. Blessed are we all. Blessed are we all. And for our abundant blessings, we give thanks and sing it as well. Our closing song, Oh, We Give Thanks, includes a second verse of blessing the food, your chilly lunch.
As we end the formal part of our service, We will invite you into a coffee hour. In a moment, with the push of a button, those of you joining us by Zoom will magically be placed into random groups of 5 or so for a brief bit of sharing. It's a virtual coffee hour, if you will, or chilly lunchtime, if you choose. I invite you to stay online and take a few minutes to connect with others. To get it started, perhaps share these things. Your name, for there may be newer people in the group. What gives you a sense of abundance in these times? And how will you stay connected to others in the coming week? When everyone in your small group has had a chance to share, you may part ways, or if you choose, stay with each other as long as you like. We will keep the Zoom room open till at least 12:30. Go in peace, carrying the warmth and the love of this community in your heart. And as we sing our closing benediction, you will be invited into coffee groups. Be well, be safe, and take care of each other.